Okay.
Good evening, folks. This is Diego Ochoa, your superintendent, Hollister School District. I'm joined tonight by our Hollister School District Board of Trustee President, Jan Grist. Jan, if you want to wave hi to everybody so they know
Hi,
who you
everybody.
are. And we have our Hollister School District Board Trustee, Liz Martinez. Liz, if you want to say hi and wave to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Good
Got an
evening.
awesome group of people tonight. Our teacher union president, Angela Higgins, is here. Angela works at RO Hardin, so we're glad to have you, Angela. And our RO Hardin school principal, Lilia Espinosa. Lilia, if you want to say hi.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our meet and greet here with our board and our
And
people
our
here that we
community.
rely on heavily.
Yeah. Lilia, you know these parents. I'm going to let you introduce the parents that are here from RO Hardin. And when you're done introducing them, Lilia, if you want to take a couple of minutes to talk about over the last 2 years that you've been there as the principal, what are some of the things that you feel have been at the core of what you're doing at RO Hardin? And what are you looking forward to for next year? So introduce the parents and then take a couple of minutes and talk to us about your school.
Perfect. So joining us right now, from what I can see here, we've got Lola's mom. so so Chanel, Lola's mom is one of our parents there at RO Hardin, and so I invited her on to join us here. And so Lola is one of our second graders, and who I've become very familiar with this school year because she is in my reading group. And so it's been a true blessing to be able to work with her and, and partner with Chanel in support of Lola. Joining us as well, I see that we've got Miss Belinda Garcia here joining us, and her son is one of our fourth graders. Something very special about Belinda, though, is that she is also one of our partners in education in that she is one of our instructional assistants. So she is part of our movement of just doing what we do there at RO Hardin. And then another second grade parent that I saw just hopped on with us is actually Amelia Salcido's mom. And so she's actually one of Angela Hagens's parents. And so, no. Are you with, yes, you are with Mrs. Hagens. That's right. So Amelia is with Mrs. Hagens, but her reading teacher is Mr. Lundquist. So anyway, so that's who I see on our screen right now. And so one of the big movements for RO Hardin in the last 2 years, so shifting into distance learning, one of the huge challenges is how do you teach reading via a screen, right? And actually last spring when we went into this shutdown, our intervention team was tasked with how do we switch this into a virtual format? And so they worked together, both our instructional assistants and our teacher intervention team, and together they came up with a plan of how does this look like on distance learning. And so starting in the new school year, they pretty much took everything that they had created last spring, shared it with all of us, and we were able to continue that journey into this school year. And so we've continued to have that focus on language and literacy for all of our students from kinder through fifth grade. And so every single student is getting exactly what they need at their level. It's more challenging for some than others. Nonetheless, we've been able to kind of poke away at each student where they need it. And so that's been the journey that we've been on. And it has been, it's been a tough journey, but a rewarding one nonetheless.
Mhm. I have to ask the parents, have you felt this year that um, it's been hard for your kids in the reading? Do you feel that sometimes it's you're just not getting the support you need? Be free to
Um,
speak. We're here to speak freely here. So
yes, definitely.
don't feel we're trying to learn. So this is a learning opportunity for us. So we're not talking feelings, we're talking about learning. So please feel free to speak freely. That's what this is about.
Right. And I can only speak from my experience. And
Sure.
Espinoza said she's, my daughter's reading group teacher. And I know just from this reading group, the small groups has helped Lola, I mean, tenfold in reading. Because, I can read with her and I can practice with her, but it's different when it's coming from a teacher,
Mhm.
and I think that it makes them feel a little bit more, included and heard. And like she said, it's on their level. So that was very beneficial to her. And I've seen a lot of reading growth, in her. My oldest son, he's a really high level reader. So his reading group is he has it with Miss Peer. So it's like a reading group, like a reading club. So I can't really speak to that, but I know for my family, the reading support has been very good this year,
Okay. Okay. And for you, Mrs. Garcia, do you feel that your children are uh, being taught? Do you feel confident in their teaching of their reading?
I'm this in the same boat as Chantel's. My son's also in Mrs. Pierce's reading group, so he is at a higher level. I do wish there was more challenge for him.
Okay.
Because I feel like in his reading group I think he just listens to an audiobook, I believe. So I'm constantly telling, oh, like, what was the book about? I want to ask questions, comprehension questions, just because I also work with small reading groups and comprehension is really important. And I always feel like no matter how fast you may read or how slow you read, I mean, if you don't understand the book, there's
Sure.
no purpose, right? So would like him to have that a little bit of challenge. I know with distance learning, it's
Some more
obviously
comprehension
it's
questions
difficult.
and
We're not on campus. Um, it's just a different atmosphere, and I understand it's uncontrollable circumstances, but that's also one thing I would like. I would like him to be challenged more a little bit.
and
I
we
feel
don't
like he gets bored easily. He gets very antsy at home, so I don't know if it's because he's bored. He's not necessarily just challenged. I guess I would.
right.
My only thing.
Do we have accelerated reader at R.O. Hardin?
We do. We have it for our third, fourth, and fifth graders.
And does his classroom hooked up to accelerated reader?
They are. So
Yep.
all of our third, fourth, and fifth graders are hooked up to the AR opportunity.
And do they have the opportunity to take tests?
They took an initial, like a placement test.
No, but I mean, after each book, can they take a test?
You know what? I believe so.
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yeah. They do.
Well, is that rolled into their grade? Because when I taught language arts, that was part of their grade. I made it out of 10 points. So it was part of their grade. Just
Yeah.
a suggestion.
No,
But
I definitely think
as a teacher, I put it as part of their grade. Yeah.
that accountability piece, I think, especially as the kids get older, it's important to have that accountability piece because then it's tied to something that's important to them.
Especially if he likes to read. Yeah.
They're good readers.
And and mom wants to see some comprehension. That's where
But
it's gonna go.
he does not knocking Mrs. Pierce. He loves Mrs. Pierce's
Oh,
audio.
no, I'm not saying that.
loves,
We're just trying to help your son here.
It's
Challenge
Harry
him a
Potter,
little
so he
bit.
totally loves the Harry Potter series. But I feel like he's just. I mean, a nice break, I guess. A nice break through the academics. You know, it's because I know they're always pushing the language arts and the a math portion. So I guess it is a nice little break for them.
Yeah,
Sure.
I agree with
Absolutely.
that as well. My son looks forward to to his reading group because, they do read Harry Potter. That is one of his favorites. And he is kind of struggling with the math, right now. So it kind of does end his day well. But I would agree with that too. On just the challenging a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
maybe incorporate some type of, something like she was saying, the comprehension aspect of it. I would agree with
Okay.
that. Definitely.
How about you, Mrs. Salcido? How do you feel about the reading program for your children?
Well, my daughter used to be excited about it more before because they had some different programs where it was more of an incentive to read, right? It was, you had your teacher in the class and they made it more exciting, and it was more, look what you've done, and they talk about it every day. And now she loves to read, but she doesn't talk about it as much as she did before. She's just like, oh, I'm going to go read. But before, she would be really excited. And I think it's just because you're in the class and you get that encouragement from everybody, right? Everybody's like, look, we got this or we got that. I think they would get like little tiles or something. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really exciting for her, but she reads just fine. She gets to read with her friends. She is really encouraged to read. So, she's doing great. I think that she's doing fine, but, just,
Yeah.
it's just a different atmosphere when you're in the class. And that's about it. Other than that, she's still moving forward and liking to read. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't have any complaints either way. She's okay. She's doing good.
Well, I know math is the Achilles heel uh, for our school district. So, do you mind if we start with you again, Mrs. Gonzalez? And how is it for your children in mathematics? How do you feel about that?
Um, you know, like I said, for my son, he's in fourth grade and they're
Mm-hmm.
starting, angles and, geometry and that kind of stuff. And like I said, I think for probably the last month or so, he's kind of checked out, if you will. Like I was explaining earlier, he's just kind of done with this distance learning thing, And so,
Have you talked to the teacher about it, or?
oh yes, yeah, we're in him and his teacher and I are in contact frequently. We talk about it, and
Okay.
he's great. I've honestly had really great support from all the teachers and stuff
Oh,
this year.
that's good.
So, I think because he kind of checked out for a little bit, work still moves on and the
Yes,
lessons
yeah.
still move on. And so when he's not really paying attention fully, he can get left behind. And that's kind of what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's more of like he gets bored. And so then, like I said, he'll check out kind of. And then he's left with maybe missing assignments, which is what we're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
now, which for him isn't really normal. He's
Right,
been doing
right.
very good. He's been progressing very well. His grades have been very, good. And I would say just within the last month and a half, it's like really just declined a little bit. So
And this is just in math that he's had this
mainly
problem?
math, but even, ELA too,
Mm-hmm.
which is normally his strong suit.
Highest. Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think he's just kind of not as interested. I think it's very difficult for him to stay engaged and want to participate like he does.
Yeah.
I notice it's kind of with all my kids, when they get in the environment of everybody kind of talking over each other, in a classroom with kids, that can
Mm-hmm.
be frustrating to some kids. And I've noticed that in, my daughter, kind of not so much, but my boys, they're kind of like, well, why even participate? I can't really say what I want to say or anything like that anyway. So I think just the dynamic of it is the challenging part right now. I know that if he started focusing a little bit more, the math wouldn't be very difficult for him. But, you know, it's just a matter of trying to get him engaged again and,
Right.
you know, wanting to learn again, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So is he excited about the virtual learning or
You know, I think at the
I mean
beginning,
about going back to school?
oh
I'm
yeah, he's
sorry.
definitely excited about going back to school. At the
But
beginning, he was like, I want to do distance learning for the rest of my life. I don't ever want to go back to school. You know, he was very much like, this is awesome. And now he's like, this is not awesome. I miss, you know, socializing and
yeah,
learning, you know, from face to face a teacher, you know.
uh-huh.
I
But he
think
knows
all of
it's
it.
not going to be like regular
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. And that's what, you know, we've been kind of talking about lately of what it may look like and what, you know, it definitely is not going to look like. And it's not going to be what it was before. And that's kind of what, you know, we've been having those kind of conversations. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
How about you, Mrs. Garcia? How's math been going at your house? Oh, you're still on mute.
I use that all day with my small group.
Me too.
I'm sorry about that. Pre-pandemic, in third grade, my son was learning multiplication, fractions. So when the pandemic hit, I feel he regressed a bit. So here comes the flashcards again, reviewing, trying to catch him back up because,
Mm-hmm.
he's what is it? Kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So when
Sure.
he kind of forgot a little bit, so it got a little bit frustrating for him, where he would get a little bit anxious, not being familiar again, because my son's a little bit of a perfectionist. He's kind of an overachiever, so he wants to do it all. But I told him, it's out of control. We just have to relearn everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, math hasn't been really difficult. Sometimes he does tell me that math is really hard, but when I have, a meeting with his teacher's really, I'm surprised. It doesn't seem like in class, so I'm really don't, I really don't know. Um, he says sometimes the students may think something's very complicated or hard if the problem, it takes a while to work on the problem. So if they see a problem, like Common Core, it's a lot of steps to get to one answer. So I think that's the only part that he's working on. But other than that, I mean, he has Mr. Knox. Mr. Knox is really awesome, and
Mm-hmm.
he's I don't know, he's just doing a fantastic job through all this. So I have no complaints. But
Good.
that's it.
Boy, how about you, Mrs. Salcido? Your children in math, how are they doing?
My my kiddos are doing fine. They're doing good. I think all of this is just like a learning curve. And once we get that situated, then we can master it, perfect it, and help our kids move forward. I personally like them to be learning at home because we get to be involved with that, and then maybe put a little bit of something more. Sometimes my husband and I want them to learn a little bit more, or we want to practice a little bit more. And this way we can, with math, some of the things that she has going on, we could see it all,
Mm-hmm.
or we can hear it all in the class, so I have no complaints with math. She's rolling with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a learning curve, and she's gonna, it's gonna be up and down at moments. But I
Sure.
think, it's what it is right now for us. We're in Zoom. They're in the classroom, and there's a lot of kids. Like Chanel said, everybody's answering and everybody's talking at one time. But she's getting it. She's learning. She's still moving forward. She still has a good attitude. So for me, they're doing good. And my son's in a different program at school. So for him, um, he's just focused. He's in junior high. He's in the AVID program. So for them, they're
Mm-hmm.
doing ingenuity.
Oh, good.
So that program is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. So so for him, he knows exactly what to do. I know exactly what he's doing, and we're all helping each other. So I have no complaints, like I said.
Well, how about, is there something that you would like to see improved at Rancho, I'm sorry, at RO Hardin? Is there something that you would like to see improved at RO Hardin, um, that we could do either physically with the campus, or procedures that we do at RO Hardin that we could do to change things, that it would make it easier for you and your children? Don't be bashful. We're here to make things better.
Oh,
So if there, yes.
hi. I would I'm hoping to have more parent involvement. I feel like a lot of parents are sometimes intimidated to, offer to help. I know with now it's kind of hard, but maybe in the future down the line, just
And how would
um,
you suggest we do that?
I'm just well, Mrs. Espinosa is awesome at welcoming all parents on campus. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure pre-pandemic with fundraising, or I've been at our Hardin for, in my experience, for 10 years or so,
Wow.
and it's really hard. It's a lot of pressure wanting to help, but having more people to help so you won't feel so overwhelmed trying. I'm
Would,
talking about like fundraisers, anything, helping out in the
yeah.
classroom. I would like to have to see that more at the school because it's really scarce.
Would it be better to have the meetings during the day, late afternoon,
I'm
or the
not sure
evening?
because I know they've tried different times and
Mm-hmm.
it has not been very successful. And it's my
What's a good time for you?
well, after work, I mean I get off early after 2:30, but I know a lot of parents usually it's after hours. So
After work?
because both my
And,
kids have gone to our Hardin, my son's in
uh-huh.
high school now, and throughout the years it just it's really hard to get, I notice, parent involvement. I'm not sure if they're just nervous to help out or intimidated. I'm not sure if it's
Do you think
sometimes a
childcare is an
language barrier
issue?
too.
Do you think
I'm sorry.
childcare is an issue?
I'm not too sure what I mean, working in the classroom, I do meet parents and we have sign up sheets to see if we could try to get people to help, but sometimes they'll sign up and won't show up, or it's
And
just
I'm just gonna ask this because I need to ask it. Do you think that Spanish speaking parents may feel intimidated
yeah,
about going
I
with
know.
English parents?
I've heard that has been the case. So
And how do you think we could make forge that gap? What would be a way that we could forge that gap to make
well,
everybody feel comfortable?
I know with Mrs. Espinoza and Ms. Vallejo has been a real positive addition to our school, and they're bilingual, so they're really
Mm-hmm.
welcoming with our parents. But last year we did a little bit of fundraising, but then it started steering into the a positive direction. But then obviously the pandemic hit, so it kind of put
Right.
that to a halt.
You know,
So
food
just
is always a
trying to
good
get it
thing.
restarted for when it's safe to do so, right? But I would love to see more parent because we share a school with HPS, and I'm just like, oh my god, they have, I have a bestie that works there. She says you can borrow our parents. We're always having an overage of parents. I'm like, have them come over.
Well, what's funny is, so Miss Belinda, my kids. So I have Eli, Lola, and Jackson. He was always the baby, right? And so they were all 2 years apart, and so I always had the baby. I couldn't really volunteer for Lola's kinder class. That was
Mm-hmm.
so hard for me. And then going on, and so I was like so looking forward to like this year because my
Sure.
youngest would be in kindergarten. So then
Yeah.
all of the kids would be like in class, and I could be super like, because I
Yeah, for
didn't get
sure.
in my daughter's kinder class, so I wanted to be in my youngest. So I was like all looking forward to it, right? And then boom, pandemic, all this stuff. But I would definitely agree with what Miss Belinda is saying, and because now my youngest is going to Hollister Prep, and see see the difference in activities and things that they do. But I would also agree that Ms. Espinoza and Ms. Vallejo coming on, that it was definitely moving in that direction before the pandemic hit. I could see it coming, and that was nice, and it was fun. You know, the kids were getting more involved with like the Husky Bucks and all those types of. You know, it was getting there, and I agree though that with the parent involvement and all that, that would be.
So we could, as a school district and as a board, encourage more participation and uh, maybe help with school site funds that will allow some nighttime gatherings and to get together. Yes, Mr. Superintendent, I'm offering up funds here. What are you saying,
But
Mr.
hey,
Super?
this is what I would have been like if I were your student.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa.
And then when you call me, I say, finally. Oh, um,
Yes, sir.
the board, this is for Belinda and Chanel and Mrs. Salcedo, the board, actually for everybody. Um, about 3.5 months ago, we attended a conference and we saw a program called Parent Ambassadors that our board was just head over heels. They just loved the idea. So what we found out was that there's a school district that's in Southern California that finds parents that are at each school that like to volunteer and like to be involved. And then they pay those parents a stipend. So they pay them a few $100 a month. And they say, let us train you so that you get more experience in bringing more parents to campus. So that, you know, Mrs. Espinoza can still run the school, answer parent phone calls, be in classrooms, be outside with the kids, and not also have to figure out how to get 25 more parents involved on campus. So it's basically, the nice thing is it's a parent talking to another parent saying, let me show you how I did it. And more importantly, let me show you how you can become a parent ambassador. So about a month ago, we did interviews to hire a position called parent liaison, and that person starts next week. And her job, along with, hi, Miss Vallejo, her job, along with our um, director of student service and our other parent liaison, is to create this program. So they're going to attend meetings with that school district from Southern California. And I say it like this because they're not going to drag down, for obvious reasons having to do with coronavirus, but they're going to learn all about the program and they're going to create one for us starting in September. So Mrs. Espinoza, you'll have parent ambassadors who are your parents. It could be Chanel, it could be Belinda, it could be Mrs. Salcedo. And we basically train them. We give them business cards. We give them a district cell phone. We give them a space on your campus for them to be able to meet with parents when parents come on campus. It's a really, really cool program. So I personally think that's going to be one of the best things we do this year.
Yeah.
I would have to agree completely with just what the parents have brought forward as far as, you know, what it is, the whole feeling of you know, who participates and who is there at the site and who's helping us out with. I am confident that every single one of our parents, I mean, they care about their kids. They want to see their kids succeed. And just like all of us, I mean, I'm a parent as well. We have that challenge of time. And so, or you don't want to be left alone with the task of doing all of the work, right? Or, oh, if I show up, or maybe, you know, it'll all fall on me. Right now, we don't have a real parent club per se. Actually, Mrs. Vallejo is the one that she kind of has headed it on, and all of last year she's taken care of it. And she's been trying forever to try to hand it over to somebody and say, do you want to take it over? Can you take it over? And then I'll be the support type of thing. But she's actually been the one to kind of head that on and bring that forward. Um, and so something like this sounds very promising as far as being able to partner. Now, I'm coming back to RO Hardin from having left for about 10, 12 years, I think. Um, and so the feeling back then, actually, Mrs. Hagen's was actually part of our parent club back then because her girls were in, or her oldest, I think, was in kindergarten there then. So she and a group of parents would run our parent club. And it was a very different feeling of being at RO Hardin, where the parents were 100% part of this culture. And so when I stepped on campus last year and I saw back to school night was my first glimpse of, this is, great, we're back on the RO Hardin campus. But it was a very different feeling where it became clear that we had to build the culture back up of making sure that our families know this is a partnership. And I think our teachers, I mean, I know our teachers want that, and they're definitely willing to work towards that in making sure that we are creating a culture of just trust and partnership. And we can't do it without you type of. That's just the bottom line. We cannot do it without a parent's support.
And I agree. And I was watching, but I'm in my jammies, kind of feeling under the weather a little bit. And I washed my face. I didn't know I was going to see everybody. But you guys, Jan, you like inspired me to come on because you were talking about the PTO. And I just have to say that, the same feeling like that Miss Espinosa when we got there. I have been the PTO. Belinda's been great. Miss Nelson, helping out as well. And I feel like we were getting on the right foot. We have the Valentine's dance. It was like the funnest dance these kids have had. They were sweating, they were dancing. I mean, it was just fun. So I have tried, to like involve parents. I do think that we do attract the Spanish speaking parents, but I think what happens, Jan, is that a lot of them work in the fields. So when
Yeah,
they get home, they're tired, and I
right.
respect that. So,
Sure.
we have to work with that, our population. Um, but I mean, I know Miss Belinda, I'm going to be calling Miss Chanel now that she has a little bit more time. She's like, why did I come to this meeting? Same thing with Miss Salcedo. I think we've talked to her before and her husband about, doing other stuff. So I'm looking forward. I'm excited that what Diego was talking about, the ambassador program, because maybe a little stipend will help and motivate somebody to come in and represent RO Hardin, and I'm more than willing to help out. I have been for the last 2 years. So,
It,
and I just have to say, I love working at RO Hardin.
do do they get Saturdays off?
Who?
The parents that work in the fields, do they get
You know
Saturdays
what?
off?
It just depends. If there's crop to
Depends.
be picked, no,
Yeah.
no. So, yeah, and it's unfortunate. So I have brought in people, and then when they come, I mean, Miss Espinosa has been there,
Mhm.
and we make them feel as comfortable as we can. We'll have coffee, we'll have cookies, we'll have cake, whatever we can. Of course, food always helps. But then when they get intimidated, because I think we had your daughter helping us at one point as well.
Mhm.
And then when they realize what it entails, they're scared because I don't know how to speak English. So I
Right.
mean,
Well,
we've had
that's what we
parents.
have to break. I mean,
Mhm.
you've got a lot of parents who also don't know how to speak Spanish. I mean, we need to break that somehow. And the one common thing is food, but if we have the kids playing games
Mhm.
and doing things together, yes, Angela.
back in the day. So my oldest that went to R.O. Hardin is at college now. She's just turned 21. So back in the day, what we did is we offered dinner and childcare for the meetings, and that got a lot of families in. But also, we tried to focus our biggest efforts during the quieter agricultural months when they had more time. So is getting in sync with that calendar. We found that we were able to be more successful in getting everybody to, not everybody, but a larger group of people
Sure.
to participate.
Sure.
So it was helpful.
And
Well,
I say too, this pandemic has been such an eye opener in so many different ways, right? And I really do have a feeling that once, campus is opened up a little bit more or whatever it may be, or not even, but maybe we can plan, virtual whatever, or, play dates, if you will, where they can see each other. But I think parents would probably want to get more involved now. You know what I mean? Because I think
yes.
we got a glimpse of what
What it's
how
like
much
when,
we all need each other. It's basically, we can't do it without you guys. Like, I commend you guys very much. And just like here, I'm not a teacher, and I'm trying my best here to do all of that here, but it's
well,
definitely opened my eyes to what these kids can miss out on not being in school. And I think,
just how precious human life is.
right, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's definitely got my kids a lot more wanting to be in school, if you will, which before they were kind of like, I don't want to go to school. It was like pulling teeth trying to get them to want to go to school. And I think it was even an eye opener for them, to want to be more involved. So hopefully, we can get back on that track.
Angela, did you want to say something? Well, I before Mrs. Espinosa speaks, there's just really one thing that, as a board, we're really, really trying to push community at each school site, and we as a board want to help each school be able to do that. And that's one reason we're having these meetings at night. Now, of course, I wish there were more parents. You're the first meeting that we've had, and maybe things will come along and they realize how successful that we want and what we're trying to do. And I really appreciate the way that everyone has been honest and open in what they've talked about. Um, because I think the more we get parents involved in our schools, the happier our children are, the happier our parents are. And guess what? Happier schools make better students. I and Miss Lilia, I think you would agree with me on that subject.
Absolutely. There's, I completely agree with just what Chanel was saying just now, is that I think what this pandemic has offered us is that opportunity to get into students' homes every single day. We're in there with them every single day, and with the majority of our families, it's a very positive interaction that we have with our families. And we've been able to work together where, we make that phone call of, hey, your kid just left, I don't know where they are. And so then the parent will be like, oh, let me get them. And then here comes the parent. And so we're working together. And I think we've built more of a partnership through this whole pandemic. And that, I think that's something that we want to continue to build upon. And so I really do hope that we're able to continue on with that as we make our transition back, but also as we get started again next fall. And then I think in the chat, Liz had asked about ClassTab. We actually use Dojo. I'm new to Dojo, but I know that for years, Mrs. Hagens has used it, and a lot of our other teachers have used Dojo. But now that we're using it as a whole school site, it's really has become one of the easiest ways for me to go ahead and send out school messages via Dojo. We still do send them through Infinite Campus as well. But it seems to be to me that most parents are checking that Dojo both for our school site and for their classroom. We don't have 100% of parents on Dojo. We continue to try to get everybody there, but and we'll challenge of that technology gap, but we'll keep at it.
Yeah, yeah. Gabby, now that you're on, is there anything that you see that the district can be doing to help either improve the academic structure of RO Hardin, the physical plant of RO Hardin? Um,
I would
go ahead.
like the front, the appearance. Miss Espinosa and myself always talk about when you drive up to the school, that's like the parking lot is the first thing that you see. I would like to see that the front be a little bit like landscaped a little bit different. And
Hmm.
there's this huge tree off to the right. I don't know what it is, but it drops a lot of sap like on everybody's cars. I would love like that chopped down or really trimmed back. But just like, I don't know, in the front, I know, I think Diego, you can chime in as well. We've talked to you about this as well. Just, to just a better curb appeal. So when
Hmm.
parents, drive up or drive by, they could say like, look, hey man, there's my school. Look how nice it looks. Um,
Yeah. We used to
that's,
have Sarah Vis no Calaveras had a big garbage bin in the front. We had
well, we
that
have ours
removed.
in the front. We have it, and it's enclosed. I mean, like a
Yeah,
little
no,
cage.
theirs was just hanging out.
Yeah. But yeah, that would be nice if we can get the
Do
front a
something
little,
for the curb appeal.
yeah, just
Okay,
a
that's
little
something we
something
can
for
work on.
curb appeal. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, parents? Anything that you see about the grounds that we could do to make it better for your children or for you?
Not that I could think of. The only thing I was thinking of when she was talking about the parking lot is just, and I understand it's difficult. There's two schools on one campus, but just the drive through of the, for picking up and the pickup drop off
Oh, that.
situation there. And I know we're not in school, but oh, that was just such a nightmare. Um, and just, people waiting in line to go through that, and then people forming another lane, speeding through that tiny little,
Yes.
um, it was just crazy. I would be like, what is this? Is a school like pickup drop off. This is I don't know. That was crazy. But like I said, I know we're not in school right now, so maybe that's not a huge deal, but I do
Well,
remember.
actually, it is for the city because you're blocking the street.
Oh
Hmm.
Mr.
yeah, and they would park
Ochoa,
on the street. Yeah.
Mr. Ochoa, you had your hand up.
I did. I just want to talk for a minute to the parents about your big grass field out there.
Hmm.
Um, I took your principal out there, was it 3 months ago, Lilia? I took you and Gabriela out there, and I just walked. We didn't have to walk very far, probably 100 feet, and I showed them how many different gopher holes were this deep, and I showed them how when I was standing, one foot was here, the other foot was here. It was like 8 inches of difference between where my feet were, and I spread my feet out. It was like 4 feet apart, and it was off by almost 12 inches. So those fields were just dangerous. Those fields were in really, really bad shape, and they were. I would not let my kids play on it. If I was going to take my children to go play at a park, I would not take them to the field at R.O. Hardin because of how dangerous it was. Um, so something that the board did about 9 months ago is they authorized us to purchase equipment we needed that would allow us to install new ball fields. So the humongous grass field at R.O. Hardin for the last 2 months we put our district ground staff out there, and they took tractors and they ripped out all of the grass that was there. So if you can imagine, the grass kind of went like this, right? Big holes, dips everywhere. 12 different kinds of grass were growing out there. And we basically had 15 dump trucks filled with grass that was no good anymore. It was all weeded grass. And then they brought in more tractors that had forks, like you could think of like a fork you use with to eat. And they just ripped up all of the soil. They just went in and scraped all the soil about 1.5 feet below the ground. Then they went through and took out all the sprinklers that were broken and installed new sprinklers. And then they came back over the top and dropped new soil over the top, came back with the tractors again and evened it out. And last week we had a company come out and spray grass seed all over your field. So if you drive by the school, it looks kind of like a weird gray, kind of light green color right now. And in about a week, you're going to start to see grass growing through. And I think RO Hardin will probably have the nicest grass field of any park in San Benito County. The other school that has a new grass field is Calaveras. And if you drive by Rancho San Justo right now, you'll see fencing around that grass field that has the track around it. So that's the next field. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be at Mays ripping up the grass field there and putting new grass in. So when your kids go back to school, they're gonna want to play on that grass field, and it's just gonna be the best field in town for the next couple of years. And then because of the board's willingness to spend money this way, we'll be able to do it every 3 years. So 3 years from now, we'll do the exact same process at your school again. So these kids will never, ever have an ugly field to play on, which I think will make them exercise more and want to play outside more. And it'll help their academics. They'll be more engaged in school. I hope we get more kids playing soccer and football and baseball. The other thing you'll notice, if you remember those softball fields at your school, had that really inexpensive, cheap gray dirt. It was like a light gray, almost like a concrete color. And we actually went and scraped off about 4 inches of it. And we came in with a really, really nice chocolate brown soil. That's like a mixture of clay and dirt. So it looks like a high school softball field, kind of. Really pretty, really safe. Like your kids are not going to come back with scraped knees and missing all the skin on their elbows when they slide or when they fall. So those are just a couple of updates that we're really excited about. And I'm really proud that we chose your school to do it first, along with Calaveras.
Yeah. Well, we really are trying to fix up our schools and make them look top notch. That's one of the things that, when you feel good about your school and when you're going to your school and it looks nice, makes you feel good about what you're doing there. And that's definitely what we want to do. And we also want to hear from our parents when you want something fixed or you need something taken care of, because we will get it done, especially if it's a safety issue. But even if it's not, we want to hear from you so we can get it taken care of. Well, does anybody have anything else they would like to discuss? Mr. Ochoa, anything from you? We can't hear you.
I
You're
gotta
on mute.
unmute first.
Yeah.
You know I'm talking. You know I had something to say.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about before we end the meeting is I want to have a conversation about how parents decide or make um, choices about the kind of outside of school activities that their kids get involved in. Because one thing we want to do is we want to keep our RO-hearted students engaged after the school day, and we want your kids staying on campus. We want your kids playing in the local rec leagues. What can we do to help Belinda or Mrs. Salcido or Ms. Gonzalez what can we do to help you keep your kids involved in activities after school, just totally outside of our academics? Just should we work with the city? Should yeah, just kind of give me your opinions on
Um,
Well, I know for me, I have 3 kids, and sports and stuff can get pretty expensive. So I think that's our biggest thing. We were involved with, the junior warriors and junior giants and the free leagues, and we even did the rec thing, a lot of sports. I think all my kids were in sports when the pandemic hit. But I think just maybe more free type leagues for the kids to do. I know that would be a lot more beneficial for me, as a parent of multiple children who would be playing or participating.
And I know that for us personally, my husband's a coach here. He volunteers there at the high school because his brother's a varsity coach for wrestling there. And I know that they together have the nonprofit for kids. It's free. It's the Hollister Razorbacks, and programs like that, maybe getting that out there for the schools, because they are free, and they're a few days out of the week. And I know that for my kids, they're involved in sports all year long. So it gives them good structure so they can go to school, have sports, come home, shower, eat, and homework, and then let's do it again. And for them, that works. So, for us, we have sports even when it's not wrestling season. We're kind of doing already something like that because we see how good it works for kiddos. But maybe looking out there and working with those type of facilities that are doing free stuff. Like Chanel said, it gets pricey. We've had our kids and stuff like that too, and it does get pricey once you're not doing, wrestling or whatever. So, maybe figuring out what type of organizations are offering that, and then saturating all of that information into the schools so that they can know. Because I know for them personally, it used to be hard sometimes to get that information out there. It's like, hey, can we put a flyer out here in the school or something,
Love it.
oh,
Go ahead, Mrs.
oh.
Garcia.
Hi. For, so from personally, my son's not into
You're going to
athletics.
have to
He's,
speak up a little
oh,
bit.
can you hear me?
You got to speak it up.
Oh, let me take off my headphones. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So personally, my son's not into athletics. So I was thinking for kids that aren't into sports too much, maybe clubs, chess clubs, um, like a robotics club, building, like a STEM program. I would I was thinking into, because not all kids are into sports. I mean, my kids have tried sports and it was kind of a no go for them. They're just not into athletics, so they're more into, mind building and thinking and stuff like that. So I would like to see more type of clubs.
So I
What
have
about
my
art?
10-year-old here, and he agrees 100%. He would
Right,
much
you're right.
prefer like a STEM type club. He was even just telling me, if we could have different clubs after school, like where we could do projects or,
like the
things like
kids
that.
can make what they're about out.
Well, I was, before you guys, Belinda, you brought this up, I was thinking in my head, Jan, you had asked also like, what can the board do? Maybe to offer a stipend for a teacher to have a chess club, once a week, or I don't know, once or twice a week, checkers, or maybe a STEM club, or, any,
Robotics or something.
and
Yeah.
Mrs. Espinosa and I have talked about this as well, but again, it would have to be after, contract hours, and then of course a little stipend to entice the teacher, to come in and work with the kids. But those are all great ideas that we've had them, Belinda.
And you'll find people out there that want to do it. They'll take that stipend. I know my husband's done it for a couple of schools. They'll take it and they'll go there and volunteer their time after school to do that. You know, there's
Right.
you'll find them. You'll find people out there, and there's people that can do all kinds of cool stuff. You know,
Yeah.
so
Well, then that's
Even
something
like a
that,
little cooking class after
yeah,
school, like maybe that's once a month, you know, and you have a cooking club. So, I mean, I love to cook. I would love to do that with the
yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
Lilia will be there.
I have a gardening business, so I would volunteer to do a class with the kiddos, you know, every once in a while. That'd be fun.
mhm.
All right, we're gonna call you.
So
I'm
you gotta
writing this
find us. You
down.
gotta find us in the rough. You know, there's parents out there that will go for it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I was thinking about Saturdays. I mean, it'd be kind of fun to have like a round robin where,
Mhm.
because if we have uh, families that can't participate because they're working, then maybe they could on a Saturday, and that's why I was asking about Saturdays. So I think there's a lot of good things here happening that we just need to talk about a little bit more, and maybe this LCAP needs to be shaped a little bit more so that we are giving school sites some money for after school activities, because that's the money man over here. So I think that our site administrators know what to ask for, and our board members know what to ask for when it comes to the LCAP meetings. Yes,
Well, you know, it'll be interesting. Um, we have this same meeting in a month with
I
Mays Middle
know.
School. So it's
I
going to be
know.
so great to talk to Mays parents to, because we're basically going to take them through a lot of the same questions we're asking
Mm-hmm.
the RO Hardin parents, because I think that's what we really want to know is what is the difference? What is a middle school parent going to say is important versus an elementary school parent at RO Hardin? And then when we meet with Lad Lane parents, what are they going to say? Because I think that will help the board and help me get a better idea of how to create a plan that can work for every single school. Still
Mm-hmm.
keeping things the same enough that it feels like you're in the same district, but unique enough that the principal and the teachers and the parents can do things that are
Right.
really going to help their individual schools.
And is there any question? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Salcido. Is there
Sorry, it's
any?
dark in here.
Yeah. Is there any? Before you ask your question, I want to make sure. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you want to have an opportunity to speak about? And go ahead and do your thing and let other people think about that while you ask your question.
Well, I had some technical difficulties, so I don't know if you guys talked about this, but um, for my middle school kid, he's in the Ingenuity program,
Mm-hmm.
and that program is just it's amazing. It's a game changer for me as a parent.
Is he at Mays or Rancho?
He's at Rancho.
Mm-hmm.
But with the pandemic going on, we sometimes don't know where our kids are at or what they're doing or what's going, like we know what's going on, but we kind of get lost in it too. You know, it can get very easy for me, and my daughter's in second grade, you know, so, and you're just like, what's going on? But with the Ingenuity program, you know, every single thing that's going on with your kid. Not only that, it helps them keep accountable. It helps them accountable for everything, for every single class, for every assignment, for you can see if he's working hard, if where you can push him, where he's, you know, slacking off. It tells you everything, and you are working with the teacher. You get to meet her every week, and it's just the whole family is accountable, and they're there, and they know what's going on. They know how to move forward. And with kids going back to school, like let's just say my little one going back in second grade, they're only going for certain days, or, you know, there's so many things that are going to get lost, right? They're going to get lost, and you're not going to know where they're at or what, or the program works, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Right.
it's, it for me, it catapulted us into, I think, next gen kind of stuff. So I would like to see something like that, maybe, you know, incorporated with elementary. So with still COVID going on and half school, half home, and we're all going to be all over this place, all over the place. A program like that would help us all be on the same page, I think, and know exactly where our kid is, where our child is, right? So I just wanted to say that really quick. I'm just a
Okay.
big supporter and a big fan of that program.
Mr. Ochoa, can you address that for us?
I can. Mrs. Salcido, if I say anything that's not accurate, let me know, okay? One thing that the Edgenuity program does is it has a portal where a parent can see, it'll show like percentages, like your son has done 16% of their biology work. But at the same time, your son has done 46% of their English work. They've done 73% of their math work. So as a parent, you're like, I know exactly what to tell my child that they're supposed to be doing. So it really feels, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Salcedo, but it feels like you're kind of watching it change too. Like you'll look at it on Monday, talk to your kid, and then by Thursday, you're like, oh, they've been listening to what I'm telling them because it's a graph. It's a graph chart that just continues to change all the time. Any dip, as a parent, you go in there and you can find it. So I think there's a lot to be able to pull from that. I want parents to know we go into a new grading and student information system in about 3 months. We're transitioning away from Infinite Campus and we're going to Aries. I think that's going to help us a lot for parents to be able to check work and to see how far along kids are. The Edgenuity program, Jan and Liz, that's what we use for our RISE Academy. So it's proprietary to RISE. I will say it is very expensive. As you know, you all approved the purchase order for it. It was about $160,000 for the year for our 300 students. So it's a pricey program. It would not be something we could afford to do with 6,000 kids, but there's a way to be able to take the parts that Mrs. Salcido is talking about that help her so much as a parent, and to be able to use that with our students in their progress towards their academics. And probably a good example of something we use now that has some of those same features is Footsteps of Brilliance for our little guys. And then, of course, Accelerated Reader. And Ms. Garcia, you talked a little bit about the kids being able to take their test on Accelerated Reader. So I think there's a path for us to be able to do it, Jen. It would just take some work on our part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about anything else that we need to bring up? Mrs. Espinosa?
I just wanted to say, I like that idea just because I also work for the school, and to be honest, my brain is fried after my groups, and I just go by how was school, and oh good, okay. So I kind of take his word for it sometimes until we meet for the conference. But I really like that idea for that program, being in touch with what your child is doing and how they're progressing. I just wanted to add that in because I'm just being honest. I'm really mentally tired after. So I asked his name is Nicholas, but I call him Nico. Nico, how was school today? It was good. Okay, that's great. No phone calls, no negative. I haven't had any negative messages from Class Dojo, so I just kind of take his word for it.
Yeah. Well, we're all parents here, and we all felt that way.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree that there's, I think, a sense of to be in the know. And I know that early on, we actually connected in one of our technology workshops. I think that we had back in, I think November or December. We hosted a technology workshop, and actually Miss Salcido came on and she said, I need to, my teacher just went over and she went straight up into Google Classroom. I need to understand it. And we said, okay, well, you know what, that'll be our next workshop. And so one of our teachers presented Google Classroom to our families, but it's knowing all of the ins and outs of Google Classroom, and then how do you hold your kids accountable for that Google Classroom, the work that's in there? And it is much easier when it is all inclusive in one program where you are able to see a student progress and know, hey, I'm just looking here. And I don't
Lucy,
know if any of you have students at the high school, and we're headed actually in that direction where I have it set up where every Friday I get an email that comes into my email at 3 o'clock. And that makes me decide whether the kid gets the phone over the weekend, because it tells me, are there any missing assignments? What grade is she holding in? That's my way as a parent to hold that accountability, which sounds to me like that's huge for a lot of our parents, of knowing, where are they and where do I need to step in? And so coming up with those pieces, and even I think last year, that was part of our conversation with parents, and the feedback that we got from parents is, what can we do to encourage our kids to have goals towards reading? So for the little ones, we would use the footsteps to brilliance and let's get going, let's do this. But then once they get into the comprehension piece, it was a little more challenging to do those pieces using the footsteps. And I think they've made improvements on that. But that's when we shifted over and we were thinking, oh, we'll go AR with everybody, and we'll put a focus on that as well. And so eventually when we come back on site, we're able to check out those books and do all of that stuff around AR, and more of the incentive pieces where they get points for all of their reading. And there's just a lot more that we can do once we've got them right there in front of us. But that accountability piece, I hear you. It is super important for parents, for students as well.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think this would be the time to say sayonara. Um, does anybody have anything else they would like to say?
No, no, just that the principals and the teachers, you guys are really truly amazing. I
Oh,
know
absolutely.
it's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
everybody's moving and grooving and running and going crazy. And you know what? We appreciate that, doing the best that you guys can, and we appreciate it, all of you.
My grandson goes to RO Hardin, so I know how hard they work. Absolutely.
It's a great team, and we don't work alone. So we've got a lot of support from everybody. So
yeah,
I think that the only reason we are able to do it, we have a very supportive, from our board to our superintendent to the whole staff that's on site, working towards a common goal. And then as we continue to build on that partnership with parents, I just feel that we will continue to build on the success of the direction in which we're going. So I'm grateful for that.
Do it. And thank you too, Diego. Appreciate it.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Take care, everyone.
Please tell Amelia hi for Lola.
Okay, Chanel, I will. You tell her I said hello too.
I will. Good night, you guys.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
You too.